Hello everybody, welcome back to my channel. So in today's video I want to kind of start a new series where I give squishies costumes. Okay, so kind of like the redeco squishies, I basically want to redeco the squishies but make them so they're still the same character but actually just in costume. So I've seen a lot of like costume squishies and costume plushies on the market recently, and I figured wouldn't it be really fun if I redecoed some to make them look like they was wearing a costume. So I figured I would start off with this little fake pop-pop sheep. I've had it in my collection for the longest of times. It has got a few kind of grubby marks on it and everything, so I figured this would be the perfect one. The reason I'm using a fake one today is because I don't really want to ruin any of my expensive licensed ones. I may do a few in the coming weeks if I feel like it, if you guys like this series. So yeah, just keep on watching. So the puffy paint that I'm going to use is this one right here. It was a yellow mixed up from my candy corn kind of squishies the other day. I just had it left over and I've popped some orange kind of scribbles fabric paint in it to kind of make it this orange colour. And I know exactly how I want to kind of decorate this one, but I'm just gonna, you know, not say it right now and just leave it down to your imagination, and I will blur it out on the thumbnail too because I know you guys like a little bit of a surprise. So yeah, let's just kind of just speed this up and let me paint this thing with this puffy paint. So I'm not going to go right to the face because I want it to actually look like the pop sheep is wearing a costume. So I'm just going to kind of go around here on this layer, and I will neaten it up on other layers in the future. So lucky for this sheep, it is actually white, so it's going on quite nicely. I will still need a few layers just over like the horns and stuff. But yeah, I'm just spreading it on kind of thickly just for the first coat. And then on the next coat, I might actually just use a paintbrush, like I said, to kind of neaten up all these little edges and yeah. Okay, so now I've got it to that bit where kind of my hands are. I'm just gonna leave that to dry. It shouldn't take too long as it was in the thickest layer I've ever done. So yeah, I'm gonna come back to that once this layer is completely dry. Okay, so now that the first layer of this is dry, as you can see, you can still see the horns through, which is what exactly I was expecting. Now I've got my paintbrush, like I said I was gonna do, mix out the bubbles in that, and just kind of give this a much neater kind of, I don't know what you'd call this, like head hole. Head hole. I'm just gonna give this a much neater head hole. Oh, this costume suits you. Now look at all the candy corn, look at all your colors. I've just had a brainwave. I should have left those because if that was in a costume, his horns would still be out, right? Oh man. Okay, I'm gonna leave those and I'm gonna paint them back in afterwards. So this is me doing a voiceover now because whilst I was talking through the next bit of the video, like loads of people were talking in the background and that's all you seem to be able to hear, so that's kind of annoying. Anyway, so what I went ahead and did was added a bit more of the orange fabric paint into the puffy paint mixture just to make up a darker kind of colour, and I added stripes all the way around just to kind of imitate like segments of a pumpkin. Time to put those horns back on. I also then added some of the hot shiny chocolate colour by the brand Scribbles into the fabric paint mixture just to make it a nice brown colour, and I just painted the horns back on to the sheep. I just decided halfway through that it was best if I kept the horns on, as it would look like it was kind of part of like the costume, as if like it wasn't covered by fabric, because I figured if a sheep would wear a fabric costume, its horns wouldn't be inside it. That would be totally weird, because that would be like us keeping our hair inside. So yeah, I kind of just decided to pop them back on the outside. Also, with a piece of memory foam, I just cut that down to make a stalk, and I just hook glued that onto the very top of the little sheep's head. I held it down whilst it set, and once it completely set, I then took some green fabric paint. This was actually the one by Tulip. You know that neon green colour? I think it's called lime neon green, something like that. I used it in my collab with Holly. I'm just using this at the moment to get this pumpkin colour kind of going, because I hate the paint by itself, but it works really well when it's trying to make brown into this greeny brown, so that's what I've been using it for. But yeah, I just mixed that into the pot to make this greeny kind of gross colour by itself, and I painted the top of the stalk with that, and I made sure to pop on a really thick layer with my paintbrush, making it nice and neat down the bottom. And I actually did 3 layers in total of this colour. So I know some people are going to be like, Chelsey, you ruined it here, but I really wanted to make this look like it was a costume and not just like a redeco. So I figured, how would a little sheep with a pumpkin costume get a little stalk on its head? And I figured that it would kind of wear it like a little party hat. So I figured I would put some little strings around it so that it would wrap around its horns and just tie underneath its chin. So I just did that kind of shape with the same colour again, just acting like string. And then I painted on a little bow at the front just to make it look like obviously there was a tie in the strings. I then went ahead and just made sure that that string went all the way around the other side and linked back up to the little kind of stalk hat. Next, I went in with a slightly darker orange. Again, it wasn't quite as dark as the lines that I popped in. I just mixed this up separately, and I just went ahead and popped an outline all the way around that kind of like mask hole around the head of the pop-pop sheep. The reason that I did this was just because I wanted to neaten up and give it a little bit more dimension, and I figured that when you usually have a mask on or something, it usually has like an edging around it, so that's why I popped that on. What I then went ahead and did was I just turned the sheep over, and I then with the same colour just drew a line up the back because I wanted to make an opening as to where like the costume would fasten up. So I just went up from the little tail, and I just went ahead and did a line with some green lines going across it. And then taking the same darker orange, I just popped little tabs over the sides of like one of the green lines, because like, you know, when you have like velcro tabs and everything like that with string, it always has that bit of like fabric like sewn over it to secure it. So that's what I tried to imitate basically. I also then mixed up a light beige colour, and I just did little circles on the other end of the lines. These were to try and imitate little wooden buttons. And then I went ahead with a dotting tool and some green paint again, and I just popped on 4 dots on each to make the holes in the buttons. And then with a pin, I used the orange colour and I did little crosses from each of the holes just to kind of imitate the fact that there was like thread holding the buttons on. So hopefully that makes sense, and hopefully you can see what I was trying to achieve. Ready, so once all of the paint is completely dry and his little buttons are done, the pumpkin costume is then complete. So I'm really, really happy with how this turned out. I'm really happy that I've kind of done a more simple kind of design for my first one. I will kind of up the ante on another couple if I end up doing them, of course. But yeah, I'm really, really happy with how it turned out. I've obviously done the string around that bit to act as a little hat for a little kind of bow on the end, and then the button up back to show that it is obviously a costume. I run like this little bit around here to imitate kind of the fact that there's like a, I don't know what to call it, like I want to call it a head hole again, but you know, like a little face mask bit, but it has the edging on. So yeah, I've popped that around there. And other than that, I'm really, really happy with it. I think it looks so much cooler now it's been fully painted, especially just compared to the plain white. I almost want to keep just decorating these little sheeps because they're just such nice texture to kind of play with, especially all these ripples and stuff. I just really, really like them. So yeah, hopefully you like this video. If you want to see me do some more of these, just let me know down in the comments down below. I just realised I didn't even squish it. Let me squish this. Just look at this. It's still nice and slow rising. Still squishes absolutely perfect even with those layers of paint. This bit here is a bit slower rising because I only actually have one air hole left. I did cover it really, really well, and then I had to pierce in an air hole again with a pin just because it wasn't even rising. But yeah, it just squishes really nicely still, just because obviously I've used fabric paints and puffy paint mixtures all throughout it so that the paint doesn't crack and go all horrible. So yeah, like I was saying, if you have any kind of like requests, anything like that, any squishies you want me to kind of give a costume to, any costumes you want to see me do on a particular squishy, just let me know down in the comments down below, as I'm always open to suggestions from you guys, as you guys are obviously the people that watch my videos. So hopefully you enjoyed this video. If you did, please do give it a thumbs up, as it does help me along my way, and I will see you tomorrow for another Halloweeny DIY. Okay, bye.